The sixth most populous state in the US, Illinois is home to farmlands, hills, and 12.85 million people. However, it's perhaps best known to those outside the state for the city of Chicago, which has been the backdrop to numerous blockbuster films, including Home Alone, Ocean's 11, and The Dark Knight. But it's not all glamorous, and Illinois is filled with unsolved and lesser-known true crime cases. In today's episode, we'll be exploring two Grizzly Unsolved cases from Illinois. If you've tuned into a cold case detective video in the last year, odds are you've heard us rave about our exciting partnership with Magellan TV, the best source for the hottest and most intriguing true crime content available online. You know about their curated documentaries and bingeable television shows, and how they go beyond the realm of true crime to deliver unbelievable deep dives into other topics, such as space, or history, or the supernatural. In other words, there is always something to watch, no matter where your interests lie. This week, we want to highlight the documentary series Water is Our Future, a 5-part program taking us inside 5 locations from around the world and detailing their fascinating issues with water. It ranges from deserts to wetlands, covering the drinking water crisis, rising sea levels, and accessibility issues. They do a wonderful job explaining complex situations in basic terms and bringing proper awareness to a few of the world's modern mysteries. It never glorifies the suffering of others either, exactly how we shape our stories on Cold Case Detective. Water is Our Future is also a new release, part of Magellan TV's 15 to 20 hours of brand new content they will add to their library each week, always leaving fans of true crime and other relevant topics with something fresh to binge and enjoy. Use the link in the description to access a free month trial and jump into the jaw-dropping adventure of Water is Our Future and other top-notch documentaries. And now let's dive in with today's mysteries. Demetrius Griffin Jr. Described as respectful, kind, intelligent, and charming, Demetrius Griffin Jr. appeared to have everything going for him. At 15 years old, he had just started attending Steinmetz College Prep on the northwest side of Chicago in September of 2016, following his graduation from middle school. His former teachers described him as a bit of a class clown who loved to make people laugh, and noted that he was particularly talented in maths and science. Demetrius was also known to love dogs, help out his neighbors, and had an interest in trying out for the school's swim team. He also attended church faithfully. It was Friday, September 16th, 2016, when things took a turn. Demetrius walked home from school with a female friend until the pair parted ways just a few blocks from the 15-year-old's house. Demetrius had a strict curfew, and, as a punctual child who stayed out of trouble, he never stayed out past it. But he never came home that night. His mother, Polly Sykes, later told news outlets, "Once I realized he didn't come in on his curfew, I knew something was wrong." Although her motherly instincts were telling her something had gone awry, Polly wasn't sure what happened until later that night. At 1:25 a.m., firefighters rushed to the scene of a blaze in an alleyway in the 5500 block of West Cortez Street in the South Austin neighborhood of Chicago. Inside a large recycling bin, they found the body of a young teenage boy. He was identified as Demetrius Griffin Jr. Demetrius had been burned beyond recognition, and his death was swiftly ruled a homicide. Thermal injuries caused by the fire indicated that the 15-year-old had been burned alive. His mother, Polly, told the media, "He wasn't a gang member. He was a very respectful kid. He walked everybody in the neighborhood's dogs." Demetrius was not known to be affiliated with any gangs in the area, nor was he known to be involved with criminal activity. Due to a lack of evidence and information in the case, it's difficult to say what happened to Demetrius, although many online sleuths have suggested he became a victim of the gangs who rule the streets of Chicago. His family believe this may be the case too. It has been suggested that Demetrius's murder was a result of mistaken identity, that he was a victim of a gang initiation ritual where someone had to commit murder to prove their loyalty, or that he refused to be part of a gang and was killed in retaliation. It has also been theorized that Demetrius was the victim of a hate crime or a predator, or that it was a simple act of random violence. One Reddit user pointed out that Demetrius's murder was not the first of its kind in the city. In 2007, 2 African American women were killed within days of one another after they were both strangled to death, stripped, dumped into bins, and set on fire. Teresa Bunn was just 21 years old and 8 months pregnant when she was murdered. Her body had been covered in accelerant before she was set ablaze. Just over a day later, 52-year-old Hazel Lewis was found dead, again, in a dumpster set on fire. They were both found near Washington Park. These are not the only victims of this kind of crime. Between 2012 and 2015, 5 charred bodies were found around the city. In November 2012, the remains of a man were located in a burning bin in an alleyway in the 3100 block of North Central Park Avenue. Then in 2013, 20-year-old Amy Martinez was found strangled in a burning dumpster on Chicago's northwest side. Additionally, that same year, a charred body was found in a vehicle in a garage in Irving Park. In June of 2015, in Brighton Park neighborhood, another body was found in a dumpster. That same month, another set of remains were discovered in a bin on the south side of Calumet Park. Although it has been speculated that the cases of Amy Martinez, Teresa Bunn, and Hazel Lewis are connected, many armchair detectives disagree that all 7 of the cases, 8 including Demetrius's, were linked, due to the fact they were carried out all over the city. Additionally, an article by ABC 7 News notes that a body was found inside a burned garage in the neighborhood of Pilsen in the days before the murder of Demetrius, but police do not believe it to be linked to his case. While it's been 5 years since Demetrius was murdered, his case is no closer to being solved now than it was in 2016. Authorities believe the killer probably burned themselves in the process of setting the 15-year-old alight. 150 people attended a vigil for the young boy in the days following the heinous crime. His mother begged the community to help her and her family, stating, "Community, I need your help. They killed my baby out here in this alley. I need somebody. If you know something, please come forward. They took my life." In 2019, the reward in the case was put up by $5,000, so there is now a $15,000 reward for anyone with information leading to his killer. A year later, AP News spoke with investigators, who said the investigation is still open, but there are no suspects. If you have any information about the murder of Demetrius Griffin Jr., you can call the Chicago Police Department on 312-744-8261. Robin Abrams. 28-year-old Robin Abrams was last seen at around 4 p.m. on Goodenow Road in Beecher, Will County on October 4th, 1990, when she passed her father in her vehicle. The pair waved at each other as Dom Abrams returned home from his job as a bricklayer and Robin continued on her way. After this, Robin's movements are unknown. She has not been seen or heard from since. The young woman's vehicle, a red 1989 Dodge Daytona hatchback, was located 11 hours later in the city of Harvey, about a 30-minute drive from Beecher. While the car doors were locked, its keys were in the ignition. Inside, investigators reportedly found 2 cameras. Further inquiries revealed a witness who claimed to have seen 2 men in a tow truck drop the car off at around 10 p.m. on the evening of the 14th. The car came to the attention of the police when a concerned local saw it being broken into at around 3 a.m., and it was subsequently linked to a missing 28-year-old Robin Abrams. 3 days later, Robin's bag was found in a residential area of the city just 3 blocks from where her vehicle was discovered. While it still contained her purse, the 28-year-old's credit cards had been removed. A few years before Robin's disappearance, she had dated a police officer with the Will County Sheriff's Department named Anthony Marquez. Marquez was considerably older than Robin, as he was in his 40s and was actually married, although Robin was unaware of this detail when the couple began dating. The pair had reportedly met while Robin was working at McDonald's. Marquez encouraged her to join the sheriff's department, and in January 1988, she was hired as a deputy. In October of 1988, a series of events led Robin to end her relationship with the officer. He reportedly smashed a car she was driving while her mother was in the passenger seat, and he also allegedly punched the then 26-year-old in the face. Some sources also state that around this time, Robin found out that Marquez was married. All of these factors appear to have contributed to her ending the relationship. 2 months later, the Will County Sheriff's Department terminated Robin. She was only 2 weeks away from the end of her probationary period. Following this, Robin filed a complaint against Marquez, noting that he had harassed her and slashed her tires on 4 separate occasions. The officer was charged with criminal damage to property, but the case was dismissed in April 1989 due to a lack of evidence. Marquez then turned the tables and filed a criminal complaint against Robin, alleging harassment. This case was also dismissed, although Marquez filed further harassment complaints against Robin in the summer of 1989. That same year, Robin was arrested several times, including for disorderly conduct and reckless driving. During the later incident, Marquez claimed that she'd tried to run him off the road. Although no charges were brought for her supposedly disorderly conduct, Robin was found guilty by a jury of reckless driving. A month later, in November of 1989, she got an order of probation against Marquez that protected both herself and her mother Barbara, and accused him of stalking and falsely claiming she'd smashed her car into his. The protection order was extended until November 27, 1990. In December of 1989, Robin filed a federal lawsuit against Marquez and 7 other members of the sheriff's department, including former Sheriff John Johnson. Robin alleged that she'd been wrongfully terminated, that she'd been subject to sexual harassment, and that her civil rights had been violated. She was scheduled to give a deposition in the case on October 22nd, but vanished 18 days before she could. In the years since Robin went missing, her case has been mostly cold. Initially, the Will County Sheriff's Department investigated, but soon after the state police took over, citing a possible conflict of interest. In December of 1990, Marquez was fired from the department, and Robin's lawsuit was dismissed in 1991 because she couldn't be located. In 2013, U.S. Representative Dan Lipinski wrote to Inspector General Ricardo Meza in Chicago, asking him to reinvestigate the case. He explained that Robin broke up with Marquez after finding out he was married, and he then became abusive. In retaliation, Marquez and his fellow officers began a campaign of false complaints and false arrests. Robin's loved ones are continually frustrated with the lack of progress in the case, noting the Illinois Police Department's reluctance to bring in outside help. According to Robin's sister, Jody Walsh, a former federal prosecutor named Tad DeBays offered to help review the case files but was turned down. Tad is considered an expert in prosecuting no-body cases. Additionally, efforts were made to bring in cold case consultant Kenneth Maines, but again, authorities rejected his help. Jody also explained how she and her husband had thrown State Police Lieutenant Jeffrey Padilla out of their home. He reportedly refused to accept and sign for documents that she had in her possession, as well as court records that pointed to Marquez as a suspect and indicated a possible burial spot, telling her, "We can't go on theories and speculation." Robin's family have been told on many occasions over the last few decades that they only have one shot to try a suspect for murder, and that the family have repeatedly encouraged authorities to try Marquez, with Jody adding, "The evidence speaks for itself. Marquez was stalking my sister, and he still has to answer for it." According to Jody, Marquez filed 103 reports of harassment. Another huge misstep in the initial investigation is that Robin's lawyer was never interviewed, nor were her sisters, Jody and Donna. Donna recalled how Robin had told herself and their mother that if anything happened to her, Marquez was to blame. This was only 1 to 2 months before the 28-year-old went missing. Not only that, but Robin physically led Donna and Barbara, their mother, to other locations that Marquez might be if he wasn't at the sheriff's department, including his second place of employment and an office that he had, just in case they needed to find him. Additionally, the family revealed they had once been told by investigators on the case that they were lacking funds to continue looking for Robin, and that if they were financially able to contribute to the case, they should do so. One theory in Robin's case is, according to the Charlie Project, that she deliberately vanished to spite Marquez. However, it is generally believed by investigators, online sleuths, and Robin's loved ones that she met with foul play and is deceased. The family have speculated that the investigation is so slow going because detectives are reluctant to investigate one, or in this case multiple, of their own, or they are corrupt and are actively helping to keep the truth covered up. They are steadfast in their belief that Marquez was involved in Robin's disappearance, and it has been noted that Sheriff John Johnson, who was named in her lawsuit, was in the middle of running for re-election when Robin filed the suit. Armchair detectives agree that either Marquez murdered Robin and had his colleagues help him cover up the crime, or that all of the men named in the lawsuit conspired to get rid of Robin. In 2017, Marquez and his stepbrother, John Romo, were named as persons of interest in the case. That same year, Romo's home was searched. The concrete floor in the basement was dug up by the FBI and Illinois State Police. However, only one bone was found, and it was determined to be 1,200 years old and from a Native American. Cadaver dogs were brought in to assist the search, and while they had multiple hits, no evidence was found at the scene. Robin's family suspect she may have been killed there and moved. One last thing to note is that John Romo had a tow truck at the time of Robin's disappearance. Don Abrams, the witness who saw the two men in the tow truck, picked Marquez out of a lineup, but he was ultimately discredited by the Will County Sheriff's Department, who told Don that they were unreliable. In the years since Romo's house was searched, there have been no new updates in the case. Marquez has been approached on several occasions over the years and asked for comments, but has declined to speak with reporters every time, going so far as to say he's not interested in discussing Robin's case. Robin Renee Abrams was 28 years old when she was last seen on Goodenough Road in Beecher, Will County on October 4th, 1990 at around 4 p.m. She has never been seen or heard from since. Her red 1989 Dodge Daytona hatchback was located 11 hours later in the city of Harvey. At the time of her disappearance, Robin had just filed a lawsuit against 8 men who were part of the Will County Sheriff's Department, where she used to work. Robin is a white woman with brown hair, hazel eyes, and pierced ears. She is about 5'4" and weighed around 170 pounds at the time of her disappearance. She was last seen wearing a long-sleeved white knit pullover, black leather jacket, black trousers, and black patent leather shoes. She also wore a gold pinky ring and carried a light beige patterned clutch bag, which was later found 3 blocks from where her vehicle was located. If she is still alive, she will be 59 years old. If you have any information about Robin's disappearance, you can call the Illinois State Police on 815-726-6377. And there you have the facts. Please leave a comment down below with your own thoughts and speculations, and remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.